It's 5 days to election 2020. Don't you forget, we are your election headquarters. And on to our first story. And the Bishi Divisional Police at Nungwa is investigating a case involving two voters who allegedly took a photo of their ballot papers. Now, the two constituents of Krowa have denied the claim. And as Kojumenu, who covered the special voting exercise in that constituency, reports the suspects are currently in the custody of the police.
Here at the Bishi Divisional Headquarters of the police at Nungwa, the venue for the special voting, the event has been smooth so far. We had voters adhering to the COVID-19 protocols, going through the processes to cast their ballot peacefully. Indeed, there have not been any security concerns here. But however, at midday, there were two incidents that were recorded. Two individuals were arrested by the police, first on the instance of the EC officials and second by other observers for allegedly taking a shot of their ballot paper on their phones. Now, they were interrogated by the police. They denied the claim. It has been a bit of a contention. They remain behind bars as we speak because the police say they have found the evidence of the ballot paper on their phone. There was a third incident recorded not long after that. An NDC agent here accused the lady of taking a shot of her ballot paper. Eventually, when she was taken in by the police for interrogation, they found no such evidence of taking a picture of her ballot paper. She has been let go and discharged. However, the accounting of the ballot is underway by the election officials here at the Krowa constituency.
The presiding officer for polling station B, person, presiding officer for polling station B. The total number on the register was 414, and then for the presidential, 359 voted, and parliamentary 357 voted. Yes, that's.
So far, are the agents satisfied with the protest? Did they raise any challenge?
No, they didn't raise any challenge. So far, they have been very peaceful, and the protest has been very smooth. The agents did not have any problems.
The two major candidates, Elizabeth Afolekwe, who is the incumbent, the member of parliament for Krowa and the Minister of Fisheries, is poised. She says she believes she's going to win the constituency again, but this time a wider margin. In 2016, she won by a little over 2,600 votes, and she came up against a strong contender who had just about 3 months to campaign for the elections, Agnes Mumulati. Agnes is back on the ballot paper for 2020, and she says she's going to give the
This is very significant for me because every individual vote counts. So it is really important. The total number expected to vote here is over 400. So for me, it's very significant. Yes. Hopefully, I'm winning this one too. And I know that I'm winning the national or the general elections on the 7th of December. It's been very peaceful. It's been very, very peaceful. And I expect that on the 7th of December, the same environment will persist and everybody will be very comfortable. We'll go about expressing our franchise, you know, in a very peaceful manner.
There have been a few incidents of alleged, of people allegedly taking a shot of their ballot, and I understand the police is handling that matter. I'm sure that has come to you. What do you make of that?
I don't know why anybody would want to do that. These days, a lot of things happen. People just get excited with social media. This morning, I saw some people displaying some ballots on social media. Maybe they are just excited. They just want to display their votes or something.
But you can assure us that this is not being instigated by any of your team members whatsoever?
No, I don't think so. If you know the environment, the ambience properly, you wouldn't be so desperate as to ask people to take photos of their votes. I don't think I would want to.
You appear very confident, but you're coming up against somebody who contested you in 2016. Remember, she was not originally the candidate. They lost out. The person who was voted for passed on, and she was eventually brought on.
Pass on, please.
So
he only fell sick.
He only fell sick. Very well. Thanks for the correction. But it means that she did not have enough time, as it were, to campaign. But she put up quite strongly a good show. She won with, she lost by 30 votes. You won with just a little over 2,000 votes. And so this is quite a fierce competition. You are very confident that you are going to win, and by what margin?
By a bigger margin, more convincingly than it was in 2016. We know Crowell has always been a swing seat, but this time, because of the good work of the Member of Parliament and the good work of His Excellency, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, I believe strongly that the margin is going to increase.
That would have loved to have been otherwise, but so far it's been good. It's been good. We've all, comported ourselves. Would have wished it better, but it's not been bad.
Elizabeth Afolekwe beat you in 2016. She beat you by over 2,000 votes. What is the confidence this time round that you are going to win the seat?
Thank you very much. I think in 2016, I came into the race about 3 months to elections, and I had 30,000 plus votes. And she was in 2 years or a year and a half before I came in, and she had 32,000 plus. That gives me the confidence that the people didn't neglect me. Even though I did not win the race, I was actually a good competitor. And this time, she knows and they know that I'm giving them a good run for their money, in spite of all the resources and the money they have.
Well, tied to yesterday's special voting exercise, General Secretary of the new Patriotic Party, John Bwedu, has expressed satisfaction with the conduct of the special voting exercise at the various centres. He says the party ought to do a lot more to get a lot of people to cast their ballots on December the 7th, as not all the special voters turned up. But Mr. Bwedu has been speaking with Richard Kwejo Nyako.
So the special voting exercise has just ended. It's 5 p.m. and then the last people or the persons that were in the queue have just cast their ballots. And so currently the Electoral Commission officials are packing their things. They are reconciling a lot of things with the party agent here, the MPP, and then the NDC agent here. It's been somewhat smooth sailing with the exception of a few issues that some of the security personnel could not find their names. But that one, the regional police commander has indicated to us that these persons that were affected would be placed in the various polling stations that they ordinarily would have voted, so that they would not be disenfranchised. So far it's been smooth sailing. There have not been any incident whatsoever. The biometric machines have been working perfectly, and all the party agents can attest to the fact that things have really gone well. We had an interaction with the General Secretary of the new Patriotic Party, Mr. John Bwedu, and he was of the opinion that in fact they have been hugely impressed by how the conduct have gone. He's visited a number of these polling stations, and they say that the MPP is very, very satisfied.
If you look for the Electoral Commission itself, everywhere we've been to, they've not complained about the effect of the machines, and they have even said that if a voter comes and is unable to biometrically go through the facial recognition that the Electoral Commission promise works, to the extent that they are even saying that it is embedded in the machine manual verification process, which we even didn't know. The last IPAC meeting, the Electoral Commission raised it and even insisted that at the end of the day we won't even have somebody going through manual verification who have to even go further and sign, because the machine itself take cognizance of that. And I think that is something positive that they need to be commended. I think.
More election-related matters now, and the Electoral Commission is promising strict implementation of the COVID-19 safety protocols as it announces a no-face mask, no-vote directive on December the 7th. Ashanti Regional Director Benjamin Banobio says potential voters would be turned away if they fail to wear a face mask. He says the Commission is committed strictly to implementing the COVID-19 protocols to stop the spread of the virus, especially at polling stations. Ohimeng Teria has more in the following report.
The Electoral Commission is upbeat in exercising one of its core functions of conducting and supervising all public elections and referenda. The Commission insists it has the responsibility to protect the general public during elections, especially in the face of COVID-19 pandemic. Ashanti Regional Director of EC, Benjamin Banobio, tells Joy News the Commission, in its quest to protect participants in this year's election, would drive away people who fail to put on face masks. The caution comes as the EC successfully organized the special voting exercise with strict adherence to COVID-19 health protocols.
No face masks, no voting. Whoever you are, before we attend to you, you need to wear your face mask. And that is going to change the behavior of the populace for wearing face masks. You know, when we did the registration, before the registration exercise, people didn't care to wear the face masks. But when you made it mandatory that anyone who is coming, that time if you don't have, you supply you. And for 38 good days when we insisted, after the exercise, you see that most Ghanaians changed their attitude and people were wearing the face masks. And that is what we want to do on the elections day. We are not going to disenfranchise anybody. And we are not going to allow anybody to come and infect others. We are talking about health, we are talking about life. So if you're a human right, then you should be interested in what the Commission is doing to curb the spread of COVID-19. It is not that you don't want people to vote. Come and vote, your details are here, we will assist you to go through the system. But come protected, so that one, you do not come and spread it, two, you do not come and pick it from somebody. We need to protect ourselves. I know that it is law by now in Ghana that any public place that you are going, you have to wear the face mask. And voting area also is what? A public place. So we are not, preventing people from having their own way.
Meanwhile, First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osewusu, has commended the Electoral Commission for ensuring strict adherence of COVID-19 protocols.
This election is very well organized, it's calm, and there's so much discipline, even on the part of those voting. I've seen on the ground markings to ensure social distancing, water for people, water and soap for voters to wash their hands, tissues. You can see that very clearly. All the COVID-19 protocols are being observed very strictly, and it's very cool. There's order, and there's discipline in the election. It gives me hope that the general election itself, 6 days away, will be very peaceful.
For Joy News, Ohiminteria reporting.
From there now, the Center for Social Science Research of the Kumasi Technical University has projected at least 51.4% a win for the New Patriotic Party in the upcoming presidential election. Now, the opposition National Democratic Congress is said to have, or projected to have, 47.1%, leaving 1.5% for all other candidates in the contest. Now, senior researcher Dr. Smart Sapong says the projections are based on available data from previous elections and surveys of all regions. The free senior high school policy tops the list of campaign promises that will influence the choices of the electorate. Nana Yaujima has more in the following report.
The projections say the NPP stands a chance of winning 7 out of the 16 regions in the country. They include Ashanti, Ahafo, Bono, Central, Eastern, North-East, and Western regions. Bono East and Greater Accra are still up for grasp, hence the need for both political parties to work at winning them. The 7 others, by the projection, will be won by the NDC. The research predicts a voter turnout of 77.31% of the total registered voters. Dr. Sapon says there are higher chances of the projections being actualized.
And they say last days are dangerous. A lot of things can happen. People can step on people's toes and all those things. But I think per the prediction, the correction factor that comes with it still is a positive 0.9 correction factor for the NPP. it is still a positive, and that is what gives me the confidence to say that is a minimum. That is the minimum. 51.4% is a minimum based on the positive correction factor that comes with it. But I agree with you that yes, they say last days are dangerous. Anything can happen. But this is to suggest that this is on the assumption that all other things will be equal. As it has been in the past, so shall it be into the future. That is the assumption.
The free healthcare policy of the National Democratic Congress is the fresh campaign promise that has been well accepted by the electorate. Road infrastructure, planting for food and jobs, unemployment and COVID-19 response are among factors influencing choice of many respondents. 33.6% of respondents believe skirt and blouse phenomenon will repeat itself in the elections. Dr. Sapon again.
41.1% of my respondents are of the view that wherever they are, if skirt and blouse should happen, it will favor the NPP's presidential candidate. But very close, 39.9%, says it will favor the NDC candidate. The drift with skirt and blouse is that if it favors the presidential candidate of one political party, it goes against the parliamentary candidates of the people.
From Kumasi for joining Namaya Ochima reporting.
Let's veer a bit into the educational front now. And the Ghana Scholarship Secretariat has announced a scheme for all free SHS beneficiaries who gain admission into tertiary institutions of learning. SHS graduates who are awarded the scholarship will have their fees paid by them by government starting from 2021. Registrar Kingsley Edgeman says the application process is open from now till December the 15th, with government committing 20 million cedis for the year. He spoke with Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson.
All WASI graduates, that's the first batch of the free SHS, now have an opportunity to apply for scholarship for their tuition fees at the tertiary level to be paid for them. Yes. An amount of 20 million Ghana cedis has been set aside. Of course, you know that because their tuition fees will vary, both in the private tertiary institutions, public tertiary institutions, their courses and programs also vary. So 20 million Ghana cedis being set aside, trust me, can take care of a lot, thousands of these graduates.
How sustainable will this funding for free tertiary education be? Looking at so much money already going into free senior high school.
Immediately, His Excellency assumed office in 2017. 350 students in the local tertiary were given scholarship. 2018, we had 9,500 of them enjoying local scholarship. In 2019, a whopping 29,000 local tertiary students had scholarship. This year, for the continuous students, 45,000 of them are going to enjoy scholarship, of which out of the 45, 11,000 or so have been paid already.
Well, welcome aboard. It's that time of the morning where we actually go through the newspapers, tell you what they are actually talking about this morning. Of course, I do this together with Mama V. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Great.
5 days to go.
Yeah, 5 days. Are you excited?
I am.
On the back of yesterday and all the action, but at least it went pretty smooth, and that was for me the high point, the highlight of whatever happened. The little bits and pieces, double names appearing twice, names not appearing, people taking snapshots of their ballot. But that, that's an issue because technically, legally, what crime have they committed? That's the
well, I think it's
sticking point.
I think it's the issue of your ballots being secret, isn't it? And the fact that people do that for other purposes. But I think what is also disappointing is the special voters are actually an identifiable group of people, mostly state workers.
Yes.
Apart from the media. So to see that they're doing this, they're leading this, I guess that's the low for me.
Yeah, because they should know better. They should know better.
So I'm thinking, what should we be expecting on December 7th? Because if this is coming out of this one.
If those in officialdom are doing this, and yeah,
and I think another low one for me, and again, this is blaming the people who went out there to vote, is the issue of not wearing the mask, because we expect that people will come out and say, I can't afford the mask on December 7th, but not these special voters. No, not the special voters.
Well, what is good for the goose is good for the gander.
No, but
why not them?
Okay, so if you look at these are security agencies, we know that largely, most of them wear even their branded mask. You see the police.
You just said most of them.
Oh, but they all have masks. They all have masks. I mean, I can stick my neck out and say that they all have masks.
But you know, that brings to mind another thorny issue, the bit about not wearing a mask and not being able to vote. And some have said that legally that is wrong because you can't disenfranchise somebody. But on the other hand, we're in the midst of a pandemic.
Exactly.
So you are weighing the two. I guess the intent is we're not even going to give you the opportunity to get on the premises of wherever to vote if you're not in a mask. I think, though, I'm one of those who are of the opinion that make it accessible to them so that if someone comes and can't, doesn't have a mask, or maybe the person, Charlie, you never know. When it comes to the masses, someone you may say 1 CD, but for that person, 1 CD is a whole lot. So how do we, take into consideration all of this so that even if it's possible to give some handouts, I mean, it would be, and this is where maybe I want to see members of parliament and the rest. Well, some may say, but if people are going to come and vote, it doesn't matter, NDC, MPP, wherever they are, make it accessible to them so that if someone comes and genuinely doesn't have one, can't afford it or something, you give out to them.
So yesterday on News Desk, Samson Ladia Yenini, our own private legal practitioner, gave us some education, extensive one, talking about what the Constitution says in terms of the right to vote, but also, that we have an executive instrument that mandates that we all wear the mask. And, it's just like you go to a public place or you even come to any of our offices here at Multimedia where we say, no mask, no entry. That's just what it is. So if no mask, no entry to the premises where the election is taking place, then that's what should happen. But whether or not it leads to disenfranchising, I guess that's the word. I guess that's what we don't want to see. But I also had a conversation with the Member of Parliament for Ikaphim South, but he's also in the midst of training with the NPP. We talk extensively about that as well. He indicates that for his party, they're going to have a lot of masks on the day, not branded. They've had the branded mask around this period, but on election day, they will have masks that are not branded, and they'll give it out to people who don't have the mask on the day.
Maybe for shaggy reasons, as a student of legal studies and all of that, this is where sometimes we thrive. Just to see if someone were turned away and then took the matter on to court, just to find out, what the courts would say.
But I think what they're doing is
considering all the dynamics to it.
So they wouldn't turn you, not turn you away, but they'll say, go and wear a mask and come back. That's not saying I won't allow you to vote.
Yes, but the explanation would be that by turning me away, I couldn't exercise my franchise. Maybe home is 10 kilometers away. I mean, sometimes you just want to see how these things turn out. It's a bit, I know.
Yeah,
I'm playing devil's advocate here, but anyway, let's start with our stack of papers. For me, Daily Graphic, the New Publisher, the Daily Statesman, the Finder, and the Daily Dispatch.
All right, I'll go through the rest as we say it sometimes. So let's start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Front page, on election 2020, it says 50 MPs quit Parliament, 10 bow out voluntarily. And I was looking for the definition of quits. Like I quit.
Yeah.
It's voluntary, isn't it?
It's a kind of like what Alban Sumana Bagmin is doing. Is that what they're referring to as
So that's, okay.
Because there are the voluntary people as well, the 10. So I'm wondering what the difference really is. Or is it those who have been booted out?
So that's the thing. So they kind of put all of them together. But 10 of them have said, we ain't going back.
We're not even interested.
Exactly. Like we're done with Parliament.
Right.
You know, I had the exit interview with Inusa Fuseni, and then Ernest Kojameno also had one with a man who didn't exactly say, I'm done with Parliament, except that he lost the primaries.
Yeah.
Aha. So, but that's how they choose to put it. 40 of them are not going back, not because they now chose, but it's because the people didn't allow them. The people within their party didn't allow them to get into the next stage. So they won't be back in Parliament, many of them like that. And then, of course, 10. So they break it down beautifully in the paper. Also, avoid using children as campaign tools. That's CRI to politicians. And I'm wondering if this call is not a bit too late. Like, we're done campaigning. And also, government announces 20 million Ghana Cedi scholarship for senior high school graduates. Special voting ends nationwide with minor incident. We all agree the incidents were absolutely minor. It was largely successful with a high turnout. Electoral Commission was hoping for 100%. I guess they will come out with a statement today, but those who monitored the exercise in some of the places said, oh, 90, 95, 80. I haven't heard anything below 80. So we'll see how the Electoral Commission itself will put the turnouts of yesterday's exercise. On the back page of the Times, President launches cocoa farmers pension scheme. Voluntary black donations drop by 55%. That's a worrying one. Voluntary black donations to stock various black banks across the country have dropped by 55% this year. According to the National Blood Service, 46,446 units of blood were collected through donations from January to September 2019, while only 20,841 were claimed over the same period this year. And then it makes other comparisons as well. But the point is that December is here, festivities, it comes with a lot of accidents, even though we keep sharing the cautions with you. We want to reduce the number of road accidents. But when it happens, there are times that people would need blood. Even apart from accidents, there are emergencies every day. It could happen to me. I would need blood today, tomorrow. Who knows? You could also be in need. So we need to stock the blood bank, and we have to voluntarily do it. It's not every day that people organize blood donation exercise, not in this COVID era where they will ask you to come around. So we have to learn to voluntarily walk to them and donate.
Do you think the impact of COVID-19 would have had any, sort of tangential, whatever, impact on people not donating blood?
I want to
this
believe
year?
so, especially in the early
Because there was a
stages
partial
of
lockdown.
COVID. Yes.
Where people were not, going out to maybe partake. So within that period, 3 weeks and maybe an extra week of this and that, that's 1 month gone.
Yeah, but apart from that, I didn't want to go to the hospital.
Exactly the point.
Even after the lockdown.
People felt that
Like,
even
you
that
don't want
was
to
a
go to the
place
hospital.
where you could.
It almost seemed like, oh, you'll be exposing yourself if you went to, even though that's not the case. Yeah. But even now, doctors advise that you have to call. It must be absolutely necessary for you to come to the hospital. So I think, yes, it largely also contributed. All right, so if you go to page 3 of the Ghanaian Times, and we'll come back and do it in detail, but voice on leaked tapes of Oswampofos. That's according to Israeli experts, and this on the ongoing of Oswampofo and one other, the case against them for assault, and I think conspiracy. Okay, so here it is. It's a conspiracy to assault public officers, and then there's also a charge of assault of a public officer. And then 2 jailed, 3 years for threatening to circulate nude pictures of police woman. I'll tell you how, Charlie. Not somebody that you'd call your boyfriend. You shouldn't be doing that, but I'll tell you the story a bit later on.
Well, let's check out some stories now from the Daily Graphic newspaper. It says 150,000 free SHS graduates to enjoy government scholarships. Then special voting peaceful, all COVID-19 safety protocols observed. And, well, in some places it was a bit tricky. You can't sell bushmeat without permits. That's the Veterinary Council. If you look on the front page right there, you would see some images of bats there. And you know, they are vectors for many of these diseases. I mean, in the West African sub-region, when you think Lassa fever and all of these, Ebola and the rest, sometimes they are tied to bushmeat. Cocoa pensions launched 1.5 million farmers to benefit initially. On the international front in Uganda, it's still boiling, and the presidential candidate, Robert Kyagulanyi, known as Bobby Wine, has suspended his campaigns following the injury sustained by members of his campaign team and damage to his car. You know, in recent times, both of them, Bobby Wine and the president, were actually having live events on Facebook. And I think someone captured a snapshot of the two of them side by side. The president had 2.6K live, and I think Bobby had about 26K live, and the person was up to mischief. You should have seen, it was a Ugandan, and it was just interesting, the dynamics there. On the international front as well, just another one I want to highlight. New Zealand's first African MP from refugee to MP. That's on page 9. It's the story of new Labour Member of Parliament, Ibrahim Omar, and how he shared his harrowing story of becoming New Zealand's second ever refugee MP. Some interesting stories on the international front. I also wanted to highlight this one. I think it's on page 38 on the back of World AIDS Day. You know, it's part of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And it says, we won't relent on ending HIV by 2030. That's according to the president. Of course, there's the 90-90-90, progressive goal or target that has been set. We've missed some of them globally and even here in Ghana, but we're hoping that we can catch up by 2030. When you go to the back page of the Daily Graphic, Eurogate chairman donates to Samira project. So all of that in the Daily Graphic today.
Okay, so I think I was listening to a report on HIV/AIDS. We have quite a number of children who are HIV/AIDS positive. And what was the news? Well, so they're trying to make the drugs more friendly to the children because it doesn't taste so nice. I think it's the adult drug that they also use in terms of the retrovirals. I guess that's what I'm talking about.
Antiretrovirals.
And antiretrovirals, thanks. So they're trying to make it a bit sweeter for the children. When I pull out the story, I'll share that with you.
So this would be children who, because the whole idea is to prevent it from being passed to the children, so from adult to child.
So this is children who
they've already, right.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Okay, let's do the Republic Press newspaper on the front page. Cocoa farmers get pension as president launches scheme. President cracks whip on national security operative for assaulting soldier. Amidu upset over president snap, fires more stray bullets. Is there a new Amidu write-up?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
After the 27-pager and the 2-pager. Nothing that I've seen.
Well, there's a sad story of baby Ansa being reported dead. I'm sure growing up you may have heard, especially if you're in this field. Veteran journalist and editor of New Punch newspaper, Ebenezer Ato Sam, also known as Baby Ansa, has died. It's been reported that it occurred at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, where he was on admission receiving treatment for a short illness. He died at the hospital's emergency center on Tuesday, which is just yesterday, and he was 57. He comes from Ejumako, Besiasi in the Central Region. He was based at Kaswa in the Central Region at the time of his death. And then Anglo Traditional Council outraged by announcement of final funeral rites for Rawlins. That's my people. They say they were not consulted.
I made mention of this from the start, that they were unhappy about the processes. And it appears, I felt there would be some middle ground found between the two sides too. Because when that day, I think a day after the demise of the former president, when I went to his former office in Ridge, if I am not mistaken, and I'm not trying to slight anybody here, the family members I saw at the time likely would be from maybe Nana Kunedu's end of the family. You get it. So I don't know what the involvement has been with them. And you know, they were raising concerns about Anglo customs not being followed and rulings hailing from their end, and how certain, you know, processes or rights ought to be adhered
but
to.
also because they say he had properly been installed as a chief.
Yes, that is well.
So they should have been included in the conversations leading to the announcement.
Is that to suggest they were not included in any way?
Apparently so. That's why my people are not happy. My peoples are
but
not
that would not
happy with this. So let's see. It needs to be brought to the attention of the public that the Traditional Council had brought to the attention of the immediate family its concerns on how to proceed with the funeral arrangement, and was to have met them for final input into the funeral arrangement. That's what I've read is contained in the press statement signed by the Awadada of Anglon, Togbi Agbesi Awusi II. The council is therefore calling on the president to remedy the situation by ensuring that the right procedures are followed. Okay, so basically that's what the statement seeks to do. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But what was that word?
Which one is that?
Or awadada? Are you anglicizing the word? I mean, you fare better in that.
Well, usually I do, but I can't get everything wrong. So if I did massacre that, apologies to my grandmother, Madam Victoria Nyomi, who's in Angola right now, who will be totally ashamed of me. So yeah.
Okay. All right. That was our own in-house expose for you. Let's check out some other papers. Are you done with that?
Yes, sir.
Right. The new publisher, COVID-19 cases up in Kumasi. December 7 polls. Police hits back at Mahama. NPP has not bribed us. That's what they're saying. And it's just interesting that, you know, these sums they're getting usually would come after, but this time it's coming before. And someone say, yeah, that thing don't happen. Anyway, Mama, you and I were not there. We don't have the pink
but
sheets, so.
I guess it would be a big shame if anybody said that an allowance for this exercise would influence their vote. Then that's like a misplaced. Okay, I'm not in the position to say what I'm about to say, so let me not say it. But I guess I just want to say that it will be a big shame. Because if you're working and you're being paid for it, and that's like an incentive to do something else, I know.
But, you know, you're taking me way back in time. Alawa is a big deal in Ghana, but you will have time for that later. 1D1F President commissions Bodukwan multi-fruit processing factory. Bodukwan multi-fruit processing factory. I'm giving myself away here. And this one interests me. Election 2020, Jataba endorses Mahama. Nana Mbwateng, you know, he was disqualified, you know, of the, let me even get the name of.
But whilst you do
Nana
that,
Mbwateng of the UFP, the United Front Party. And he is saying that he's reminding Ghanaians that Ghana is in bad hands and that only John Mahama is the savior. And I'm asking myself, dude, why were you even contesting then? Because you were contesting, now that you've been set aside, this is what you're telling us? It feeds into the bit about the smaller parties always being beholden, in a way, to the bigger parties, a.k.a. the MPP and the NPC. So that's it.
Well, also in the Republic Press, wanted to say that Marek, you were following his court case.
Yep.
So the application has been thrown out, like they say.
Double throw.
All right, let's do the Daily Guide newspaper. Front page of the Guide this morning. Nana launches Cocoa Farmers Pension Scheme, opens new one district, one factory. Free senior high school graduate scholarships open. Special voting goes smooth. Don't send Ghana back. Attributed to CVM. Rejects Mahama, says the chairman of the NPP. Nana not corrupt like Mahama. That's according to the NPP. Basically, that's what's on the front page. In the center spread, you would find some entertainment news. Nigerian youth don't believe in themselves. Ooh, who says that? It's a Nollywood actor. Okay. All right. I guess that will be it, really. You can check out the rest of the stories.
For me, the Finder newspaper is next, and of all the political stories, I'll zero in on one. Let's start with this. Roads track record unveiled. That's and a picture there of Kwesi Amoako-Attah, Roads and Highways Minister. There's President Akufo-Addo launching that cocoa farmers pension scheme, reject inconsistent Mahama MPP. But my focus, avoid using children as campaign tools. Bright Apia of Child Rights International says that, and he has appealed to politicians seeking various positions in this year's election to avoid using children or minors as their campaign tools in securing votes from the electorate. He said it would be very irresponsible and demeaning for any political party to involve children in their campaign activities. But don't we see them?
That's why I said when I
all over the place.
Story in the Times that maybe this call is late. I mean, it's
belated, but
it's been done already.
Well, at least late, but not too late. So that's it with the Finder newspaper.
Okay, last paper for me before we do myjoyonline.com, the catalysts. If you go to page 4, well, the story is on the front page, by the way. It says, endorsing Akufo-Addo Samini is fake. That's says Shatawale. And that's the story that I'm looking at. Yes. So if you go to page 4, it says Ghanaian dancehall artist Charles Ni Amamensa Jr., popularly called Shatawale, has described Samini as fake, a liar, and confused. This has come in the wake of Samini's, okay, where's the meat? Where's the meat? According to Shatawale, Samini has said he would never endorse any candidate or political party, only for him to backtrack. Okay. So he was talking on a radio station, and he says he will stop Samini from deceiving Ghanaians soon. He told Ghanaians, including your supporters, that you will never endorse any political party or flag bearer. You condemn celebrities endorsing political parties, but now Samini has endorsed MPP. He's confused, fake, and a liar. Hey, Shatta. I will surely get time for Samini very soon because I won't allow him to deceive Ghanaians. All right, there you.
Shatawale. Well, let's check out some of the online portals now. Mama V will do My Joy online, but before that, at least on the CNN, Trump has raised over $170 million, actually, for that legal push. You know, in recent times, there was someone who had contributed, was it 2 million, 2.5 million? And he said he wanted his money back. Your claims were fraudulent. And then Trump is also talking of another 4 years during, a recent White House reception. So that's it for the CNN. Let's check out some other news now.
Okay, so before that, I think I promised to do this story in the Ghanaian Times about a police woman whose boyfriend had conspired with another person to leak her nude photos. So he said he got jealous.
He asked
his friend. So he was dating the woman. And then he said he suspected that she was cheating. So he created a certain account on Telegram to engage her as another person. And then in the course of the conversations, he asked for, I think, 3,000 Ghana cedis. Otherwise, I'm going to leak your nude photos. She didn't know it was her boyfriend who was talking to her that way.
I mean, how mean,
and then
how
he got his friend to actually send the nude photos. But here's the good thing that she did. She's a police woman. She went to her boss in the office to report the incident. It was the involvement of the boss that led to the revelation that it was her own boyfriend. And now he's been sentenced, I think, 3 years. Let's see. And there was Justice Esando who did this conviction. First-timer offender, but he needed a harsher punishment for the offense. So let's see. 3 years in prison in hard labor.
And maybe something to highlight here. Some people don't know this is a crime. It is a crime. And even when, just circulating, sometimes we are not aware that circulating some of these photos, it is criminal. And when you're found out, you will be apprehended.
All right, let's do myjoyonline.com. Here's another SARS story. Father of the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, is reported dead. Details on myjoyonline.com. Every right comes with a responsibility. EC urges electorates to go to polling stations with face mask. Martin Amidu dares government to publish a Japa report. Others. Listen, I guess we'll have to come back and do this, Martin Amidu. But there are plenty of stories on myjoyonline.com related to the elections. Professor Ade debunks Mohammed's claims of malfeasance at the GRA. He's the chairman of the Ghana Revenue Authority Board. A cover extracts interdiction of national security officer who allegedly assaulted soldier. Plenty of stories there on my Joe line.
But we can't go without my doing this. It's from our very own Ernest Kojo Menu of the Joy Newsroom. And he says, it's your birthday today, Bright Nyameche Akwesike, a member of the Knights of St. John International. Happy birthday, and God richly bless you. So, Bright Nyameche, that's from Ernest Kojo Menu to you. Happy birthday. Do enjoy. Well, that's how we wrap it up. It's time now for sports. Do stay with us.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM Sports with me, Oreko Ompofo. We do start off with some boxing news where about 4 months ago, Isaac Dogbe won a bout against Chris Avalos in the United States. Now, prior to that victory, there had been talks about the Ghanaian fighting against Emmanuel Navarrete, who he had lost twice against already. Now, the boxer has been speaking to Joy Sports, and he says he's not thinking of fighting the Mexican anytime soon.
Navarrete will always be a name that people will bring up. But like I said, experiences, makes you mature. Before, sometimes, you would want to just go back and your ego will set in and you want to just go back and just be like, you know what, yeah, I want to go, I want to get him back, But no, I can't think of Navarrete right now. I have to start planting my feet, making my steps, setting my traps, taking it one day at a time, focusing on me, focusing on what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. I don't need to think about what Navarrete is doing right now. He's a world champion, great. I believe that I have to work my way back up to the top again. And this time, I'm doing it with experience. Something I've seen before. I've been there.
Still on some Ghana football, and Costa Papic has been confirmed as Accra Heart of Oak coach, returning for a second stint in charge of the club. The Serbian has been tasked to end the 11-year drought with Accra Heart of Oak.
The 60-year-old replaces Edwardni Odum, who has been handed the reins of the youth team. The Serbian won the Ghana Premier League during his first spell, which lasted for a year. The title triumph in 2009 was the last time the Phobians were crowned champions. Papic arrived in the country last week and was at the Accra Sports Stadium to watch Hearts of Oak lose 1-0 to Inter Allies. Has tried replacing Odum before the start of the season with the appointment of Carlos Manuel Vaz Pinto. The Portuguese resigned after 8 days. Hearts have played 2 games this season and have just a point, which sees them occupy the last position on the league table.
All right, so AM Business is here on the AM show every Wednesday, brought to us courtesy EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Now, let's talk about yesterday's special voting exercise that was carried out across the country, all 275 constituencies. A few issues came up yesterday, but there's also the issue of agents at the polling stations, and I'm sure that you've heard that elections are won at the polling stations. So there are a few concerns that people have raised, and I put all to the Member of Parliament for Ekuapem South, who also sits on the Subsidiary Legislation Committee of Parliament. Here's our conversation. When we come back, we will talk to other related persons. We've got the Senior Programs Officer of CODEO, their election observers, Rhoda Osei Afo will join us, as well as political scientist with the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Osa Asante, on the back of yesterday's exercise, as well as Dr. Srebo Kweku, his Director of Electoral Services with the Electoral Commission. But first, here's my conversation with the Member of Parliament for Ekuapem South. Is there some kind of conflict between the EI that says people should wear masks and the enforcement of it, and the constitutional rights of you have a right to vote?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a conflict. It's like you having a right to enter a bar or a restaurant, but the notice will be there that no mask, no entry. It's part of the protocol that we have to enforce. So if for any reason you want to go to any public place, it's advised that you have a mask, even in a church, in a mosque, several places. So if for this special voting or for voting purposes, you need a mask, I think that we should insist on it, so that at least for the period that you be in the queue, where even though you are social distancing, you should still have your mask to protect yourself and protect others.
Whose responsibility should it be? The political parties or the Electoral Commission, which is conducting the exercise?
It's the voter. It's not every voter who belongs to a political party. But you're exercising your civic responsibility, but you should also marry it with the fact that we should all protect ourselves. So protocol-wise, wake up in the morning, you want to go and vote, look for your mask. As at this point, I don't think there's anybody who doesn't have a mask at home. If they don't have, they might have used it and discarded it, which would mean that they will need new ones. But for most people, they have masks, and we expect that unless they wear the mask. Even if it's the transparent one, where everybody can see your face, you should have it, except that you should not have any party colors or logo on such masks. So for us as political parties, we've had to do separate ones. Those that people wore and use that as branding and use those ones to even campaign for us. But on election day, they need plain ones to be able to go and vote.
Okay, another issue that has come up is also people not finding their names in the register. There were reports in Kumasi, in the north, elsewhere, like that. What do you do if your name is not in this register?
So those who go and don't find their names, either one, their names were not sent on time, or two, EC has a problem with getting their names on the register.
Okay.
So for specific issues and reasons, the EC should be able to explain why an individual's name will not be on the register.
Okay. So, but the concern is, and I heard people explain that it had been confirmed to them that go to polling station so and so, and then they go and they don't find their name on the register. But the concern really is, what if you're deployed outside your constituency on the day of voting? How then?
It means you will not be in a position to vote, and it will be unfortunate.
It means that you've been disenfranchised.
The EC should be able to tell us exactly what the circumstances are.
Shouldn't your party be concerned about people like that?
Well, the party may make a point, but at that stage, we don't even know how it came about. And if the person has the opportunity to vote on 7 December, it's not fatal. Like, let's say, media. If they can make arrangements for media to still vote on 7 December. But for a security person who is supposed to, let's say, vote in a brief, and doesn't get the opportunity, and would be posted to, let's say, Ashama on election day, means he would have lost the opportunity to vote. And as I said, the EC should be able to tell us, because it's quite sensible. I think the number is over 100,000, and you can't openly disenfranchise anybody or do anything that would give the impression that such persons have been cut off from voting. They need to tell us really what is happening and why it has turned out that way. There's a bigger problem that even for us in this conference, we were expecting the EC to address. Apparently, those who had their names on the register were the presiding officers. But on election day, you have more than a presiding officer. You have 5 other persons, 4 who will be at the table, issuing presidential, parliamentary, and then those ensuring that everything has been done for you to vote. And then now they have a COVID ambassador. The COVID ambassador is supposed to ensure that people come, they take their temperatures, they ensure that you have the mask, you have the sanitizers and all those things. We were hoping that all of them could vote today. Because on election day, they'll be busy. If they don't vote today, it means on election day, they should be assigned to their polling stations so that they will vote early and then take on the job that they are required to do.
But is that what is going to happen?
That's why we are engaging the AC to, as much as possible, let it happen. Otherwise, we don't expect a ballot issuing officer to say that I need to go and vote elsewhere before I come and sit at the table to issue ballot papers.
We've got less than a week to the December 7 polls. Isn't it too late
if it's central and they can handle it, they should be able to handle it. For instance, if you recruited officials to assist the presiding officer has voted on special voting day. The rest of them, if they belong to a polling station, or if you've recruited them and you can assign them to their polling stations, that means they also vote there. It becomes easier for everybody. Otherwise, you expect them to go and vote at their polling stations before they come back to come and do their work at another station. One, it may delay the process, and then two, it becomes practically impossible unless others will do their work for them.
What's the feedback that you're getting from the Electoral Commission, if any?
Well, today they are occupied with special voting. We are hoping that by evening we should be able to sit down with them. But if it's happening across the country, then we expect every electoral officer in the municipality or district or returning officers to find a way of minimizing this kind of situation. Otherwise, the places will start late and they may not start at all. If you have to, let's say, go to a Presby A to go and vote before you come and take charge of Kitasi Police Station A. So until you vote, you can't go and be part of the process there.
Well, but that's if the recruitment was done within the constituency so that all the officials are coming from here.
Most of the time, that's what happens. Very few come from outside the constituency. You have some of the teachers, some of the other persons who apply. They go through the process. If they are recruited, that means they take part. But the most critical thing is trying to assign them to their polling stations or very close to the polling stations.
Okay, okay. One of the other things that we also wanted to understand was the work of the agents, because we've been told many times that an election is won at the polling station. And now that I think the parties, both major parties understand that very well, people predict that there will be a lot of tension. So what can the polling agents do or not do so that they don't intimidate me, the voter?
Well, in the first place, we all have to agree that both the Constitution and regulations for elections make room for agents. And it's not really about political party agents, it's about candidates and their agents. So it says that if you're a presidential candidate, you're allowed to have an agent at the polling station and then even have a counting agent, in which case you can submit a list of 2 per polling station or submit only 1 person. If you submit 1 person, it means that person becomes the polling agent and also turn himself into a counting agent at the end of the poll. If you submit 2 names, it means one will serve as a polling agent, the other will serve as a counting agent when it's time for counting and recording. So the law allows it. And the law, if you read the CI very well, the CI says agents are allowed at the polling stations to enable them detect impersonation, multiple voting, and to ensure that the elections are held in accordance with the conduct of public elections. So the law has taken care of it. And the law goes further to say that the Electoral Commission in that case, if it's a presiding officer at the polling station, should grant access to such agents to carry out their responsibilities provided in the Constitution and the law. So that I don't have an agent who will be sitting here and the elections will be going on down there. He cannot observe to ensure that everything is being done according to the law. So the agent is supposed to be quite close enough to the scene. 2, the agent is not supposed to handle any election material. His is to observe, and then if there's any issue that he has to raise it under the law for the presiding officer to also take that into consideration.
We've gotten through a lot of elections. Are you not convinced that our electoral officers will do the right thing?
No, it's not about the matter of doing the right thing. What usually happens is there is a difference between the theory and the practice. Permanent officers have gone through this for quite a period. Some too are not permanent, but who have done this for quite some time. Somebody may have been recruited as a presiding officer for, let's say, 2012 elections. Get the opportunity to also do 2016 elections. And also go through further training for 2020. So I assume that such a person knows the process. But if you recruit somebody now, fresh enough, and you take him through training, if it's once, twice, or 3 times, and he doesn't belong to the EC, let's say he's a mathematics teacher, he wants to be involved, you've recruited him, you've taken him through the process. On election day, he may not know everything. That is why the agents are also taught well.
So who resolves the issues when there are conflicts?
Well, there are some conflicts if it happens in the course of the election. The returning officer, the overall person in charge of the elections at the constituency level, is the returning officer. It means the returning officer should be brought in. You understand? There are situations too where the elections would have been completed, but issues may arise which will have to be resolved by the returning officer at the collation center. For instance, rejected ballots. The presiding officer may decide that this ballot should be rejected. The agent may dispute that this ballot belongs to my candidate. If the officer insists that it should be rejected, the agent has a right to raise objection. And the presiding officer will have to indicate rejection objected to, or objection to rejection.
Okay.
In which case, he records it, the agent informs the candidate or those representing the candidate at the collation center, where the returning officer is supposed to collate all the results. His attention should be drawn to that an objection was raised to a particular rejection, and he becomes the final authority as to indeed whether it should be rejected or should be counted. The other one is recounting. The regulations allow the agent to ask for recounting after counting. He can ask for another recount. At that point, the presiding officer can say that I will not agree or allow that recounting. The agent can then inform those who will be representing the candidate at the collation center that I asked for recounting at this polling station, and it was refused the second time. When it comes to collation center, the returning officer should allow the recounting.
Okay.
You understand it? So the returning officer more or less is in charge of the elections at the highest level. If there are any disputes, he should be able to resolve them.
Okay.
But as you know, the chair of the EC is the returning officer for the whole country for presidential elections.
Okay.
For parliamentary, it stops at the constituency level.
So I guess the challenge will be you have a very educated agents? Because you've done some thorough training, but if we don't have...
Well, we have criteria for selecting our agents. You should be literate, you should be numerate, you should be diligent, you should be bold, you should be alert, you should be committed to the work you're doing. And if you cannot read and write, we cannot pick you as an agent.
That's your criteria as MPP?
As MPP.
Okay.
Because you'll be signing forms and attesting to what has been recorded.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing. I just hope that their actions will not intimidate us, the ordinary voters who go to the polling
The agent
stations
is not supposed to have any relationship with the voter.
Is there another IPAC meeting before December 7?
I think I've seen a notice for tomorrow. And if the notice is correct, it means there will be a last meeting before election day.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking us through the process.
Thank you so much.
And we wish you well in the contest.
Thank you so much. This is still a contest, even though we are only 2 here. I mean, this is the first time that I have only one opponent. I used to have more than one. We had a CPP candidate who ran for about 3 times with me, but this year he's abandoned it. And he was usually the 3rd person. But he also had some other minor parties having candidates.
Is this the final lap for you?
It's too early to ask and talk about it.
Okay.
I wish I could take a decision, but it's too early for me.
All
but
right.
I would have played my part 8 years in opposition on the left side of the speaker. I've done almost 4 years on the right side of the speaker. I'm hoping to do another 4 years. And then if you balance 8 in opposition, 8 in power, probably somebody else could take over.
All right, this is your election headquarters. That's my conversation yesterday with the Member of Parliament for Ekuapem South, but also because he's in charge of training the NPP agents who will be on the ground on election day, December 7. So that bit about the work of the agents so that in the end they don't intimidate us. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist with the University of Ghana. He joins us via Zoom for a conversation on the back of yesterday's exercise. There will also be the Director of Elections, Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Srebo Kweko, who also join us on this conversation. But Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, a very good morning. Thank you so much for your time here on the AM show.
Good morning.
Great. Did you have time to monitor the exercise, either on the ground or through other mediums? And I'm talking about the special voting.
I must say that I was a little busy, so I did not sit down to monitor the process. But, you know, I listened to a few bits and pieces with regard to the news. So at least I have a fair knowledge as to what happened yesterday.
Okay, great. So what would be your verdict in terms of the success of the exercise?
I believe that the process went on well. We recorded some hitches here and there with regard to those who were taking pictures of their ballot and all that. And later investigation shows that they were not through and all that. It's my hope and prayer that that is not true, because then it defeats, it flouts the secrecy laws regarding election. But all said and done, I can say that what transpired yesterday was a good one. The Electoral Commission was up to the task. And I believe that it's not going to end here. We are going to continue and then have the meaningful election come Monday, 7th December.
Now, it's also the issue of the no mask, no vote policy that was being enforced. Really, it was just in line with what is practiced generally. If you go somewhere, they say no mask, no entry, for instance. But there are people who raise the issue that on December 7th, there will be people who genuinely may not be able to afford a mask. And it would become an issue of disenfranchising them in the process. Because if I can't vote, then it means that you're holding me so I can't, if you like, do something that I have a constitutional right to perform.
Yeah, but that argument is also not tenable in the sense that if you look at the fact that it is your civic right to vote, and that if you are going and take, for instance, if you are going to vote and take, for instance, you have to travel. It is not a state that provides you transport. No. So I believe that it's part of our civic responsibility to vote. Whatever the cost that you need to incur in order to vote, I don't think it should be the duty of the state to bear that. But if the state want to do that, fine. But I'm thinking of where the state is going to get money in order to execute that. That is problematic. If you allow the political parties to do, you know what they want to benefit from. And that means that they want to influence the choice of voters, so much. And I believe that something must come out to define this thing properly. But I believe, and I believe strongly, that it is in the duty of the voter to make sure that you go to the polls and vote. And if you need to use transport, I'm not sure it's the state that has to provide for you.
Let me bring Dr. Strebo Kweko into the conversation. He's Director of Electoral Services with the Electoral Commission. He joins us via phone. Dr. Strebo Kweko, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. Good morning. Your line is so low. Okay, so I'll try and speak up a bit. Hopefully you can hear me better now.
Hello?
Hello, Dr. Kweko, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay, great. So yesterday, as you contributed here on our platform, you didn't have the appreciation from the rest of the country. You were talking largely from your own observation because you also went around. Collectively, do we know in terms of turnout countrywide yesterday's exercise?
Yeah. The provisional figures now is 88%, 88%.
You are expecting 100%, at least from the last press conference by the Electoral Commission chair. So is this success for you or you're disappointed?
We would have been happy if everybody who applied had voted. The challenge is that if your name appeared on the special voters list and you did not vote yesterday, it means you have lost your right to vote for 2020. That is why we were expecting 100% so that nobody would have lost his or her vote. But from the end of the issue, some 12% people out of the special voters list cannot vote in 2020. And it's unfortunate.
Yesterday, you wanted a bit of time to appreciate the issue of the missing names. Do you have clarity now?
Missing names from...
Missing names from the special voters register yesterday.
We didn't have any missing names. Those who were successfully captured were supposed to vote. If your name did not appear, it's not mean that you have not captured.
So I engaged Mr. Obi Amwa, who is a member of parliament for Ekuapem South. And
you engaged who?
Mr. Obi Amwa, or say Bonsu Amwa, member of parliament for Ekuapem South.
Okay.
And he raised the issue of the other agents recruited by the Electoral Commission at the polling centers who could not get the opportunity to vote yesterday, apart from the presiding officers. So what's the plan if they have to vote on December 7th?
The other agency? Which agency?
No, the other agents recruited by the Electoral Commission.
We call party reps as agents. We call our people officials. So if we talk of agents, you're referring to the party reps.
Okay, so I guess I'm talking about your officials. Exactly.
And the instruction to our officers is that they should assign them to where they are registered voters or close by, so that they will not be disenfranchised. That is the order to the officials.
So are they going to vote before everybody else on Monday?
If you are working at the police station where you registered, then you will start working. When the line is less busy, then you go and cast your vote. If you registered outside, if you are working outside where you registered, close by, and when you are a bit free at your place, you go to the polling station, you are wearing our jacket. You will not go and join any queue. You go there, you are given preferential treatment. Within 3 minutes, you will have finished your vote. You go back and work duty and continue the work.
So that's in the case where the centers are close.
That's why I said we have ordered our officers that those who have been recruited should be put either where they registered or nearby.
Okay.
It's an order to them.
Okay. So how about the issue of some persons taking photographs? And I know that you've said that you don't have control because you don't search people to seize their mobile phones, for instance. So you can't tell what they will do in the booth. But how does that disrupt the exercise? What kind of message does it send?
Is specific that a choice of balloting should be in secrecy. So the moment you take snapshot of your thumbprint or the ballot paper, you have breached the law. And yesterday, I know 3 people so far have been arrested. And it is my wish that those who are given custodial sentence before 7th December to serve as warning to others. We should be people who respect the laws of the country. We cannot take the laws into our own hands. That is indiscipline. So anybody who did that flouted the law and they should bow their heads in shame. Why would you take snapshot of your vote? What is the need for it? And by so doing, you are breaching the laws of the country. And you should be sanctioned severely and with swiftness that it demands to serve as warning to others.
Dr. Shribokweku, stay with me. I've got Dr. Asa Asante, who is a political scientist with the University of Ghana, also with me. Let me ask you, Dr. Asa Asante, are there lessons that the Electoral Commission, are there things that they should perform better come Monday that you want to share?
I think that so far what I've seen, I'm satisfied and I'm happy with that. We want to encourage them to work and improve their performance. So far, they've done creditably well. The issue of pictures that people were taking and all that, I'm sure they've taken political notice of this and they are going to work at it so that it doesn't repeat when we get to the main election day on the 7th. I'm sure as part of their program, any lapses that they come across, they are able to look at it and deal with it head on. So I know that definitely on Monday, they will live up to expectation. I have no doubt in my mind.
Dr. Sirokoko, just before I let you go, is it allowed for snacks, water or food to be shared to voters either when they're queuing or after they've voted?
Who is sharing the food?
As in members of it. Okay, so let me put it this way. Candidates or supporters of the political parties, can they give food or snacks out?
In the queue, they don't have to do that. They'll be disrupting the process. But if the people had already finished voting, the choice has been made. So if they're going and somebody decides to give them food, but that one, I wouldn't say that that one was used to influence them. But if they were going to vote or they were in the queue before voting, I don't think it's to be proper.
Okay. So just finally with you, what are the lessons that you've learned from this exercise that you're hoping to either improve or do differently on Monday?
I would say that all stakeholders, the media, civil society organizations, observers, party reps and the party executives, the voters all comported themselves. We are expecting that we should replicate them on 7th December. But those who went to the centers without mask, they should understand that COVID is still available. and you can contract the disease when you step out of your house without putting on the mask. Again, it is also a breach of the law that you step out of your house without being in a mask. We should bear in mind that COVID is not at the police station only. You can contract them anywhere along the route. So please protect yourself and protect the people you come into contact with by wearing the mask before you step out. And I will treat everybody to be law-abiding, that nobody will find himself against the law because he went and touched the people. Let us be all law-abiding.
Okay. Are you considering the suggestions that have come in that you should procure at least just some small quantity of mask on polling day so that you can give out as Electoral Commission?
Mate, defeat that argument. If you say that we should procure the quantities, then the way you are telling Kenyans that the COVID can only be contracted at the polling station. So what about you step out of your house without a mask, you join a bus or vehicle without a mask, and you contract it before getting to the polling station? Let us encourage everybody to be responsible, because if you have a right, that right also imbibes you or enjoins you to be responsible. So let us be in a mask before you step out. Because if you are saying that we are going to provide them in a mask at the polling station, then indirectly you are telling people that the COVID can only be contracted at the polling station. So when you step out and you are not in a mask, you are not endangering yourself and others. I want to buy that. Be in a mask before you step out.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sribo Kweko, for your time here on the AM show. He's Director of Electoral Services with the Electoral Commission. I have Dr. Asa Asante. Doc, you're still here with us. The issue of giving out food or snacks at the polling centers, and yesterday there were reports of some of the candidates positioning themselves and giving out food after people had voted. What's wrong with a thing like that?
You know, elections are conducted based on laws. So the laws that regulate the conduct of people with regard to election must be adhered to strictly. Simplicity. We don't need a variation of the law, and we don't need where there is non-compliance. That defeats the whole business of election. So we are saying that the rules are there. Whoever flout them must be visited by appropriate punishment. Pure and simple.
And then, okay, so it's clear now that you can't give out when somebody is in the queue, but you can do whatever you want to do after the person has voted. And then Dr. Sribo Kweko also talks about those who took the pictures, about 3 of them, that he's hoping that they can be punished really hard so that people can learn the lesson from that. But there's also the issue of agents. And yesterday we saw largely MPP NDC, even though there are 12 candidates on the ballots with the presidential election. What's happening? We know that at least the minority parties and the only presidential, one presidential candidate, they don't have that much votes in the past. They haven't had. But why don't they have agents at the polling stations?
I can't explain, but I'm sure they have a good reason for that. But if you look at the system and you trust the system so much that you don't want to send agent, nobody will force you. At the end of the day, we want to be satisfied with the process, and we want to assure ourselves that we have done the right thing. So if they believe in the system, that the system is so robust that it can really address some of the issues and instill confidence of the actors in politics, we are good to go. That I can't say much. It's their right to send agents there, and if they decide not to send, I believe that they have a very firm understanding of the system, and they believe in that the system will work to their advantage. I am with them.
So let me bring in project lead of election observers, Kodeo Rhoda Osei Afo, who also joins us on this conversation. Rhoda, good morning and thank you for your time. So yesterday, you did give a fair assessment of yesterday's exercise, but I guess the day after, it's all come together properly for CODEO. What's your report on yesterday's exercise?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. Yesterday's exercise was significant, and I think it's something that the Electoral Commission has been doing well, which is to provide certain categories of people who will not be able to probably vote on election day the opportunity to cast their ballots. In many other places on our continent, this opportunity is not there. But over the years, we have made this opportunity available, and it's something that we commend the Electoral Commission. Now, in terms of the processes and what unfolded yesterday, generally, we looked at a number of factors. We look at the performance of biometric verification devices, because this is a very significant aspect of the process. We are looking at verification, making sure whoever is voting is the right person so to do, and then we are making sure that everybody has just one ballot. And again, we know that the biometric verification devices, this was one major reason or one factor that the Electoral Commission provided for compiling a new voter register, because they were talking about the state of the old devices. So
Okay, so our connections seem to be going bad with Rodosei, Afro project lead of CODEO, probably re-establish contacts, but I still have Dr. Asa Asante with me. And maybe in wrapping up this conversation with you, Dr. Asa Asante, if you can hear me, Monday's just around the corner. How much of what has happened in the special voting exercise should we, because, you know, in this exercise, in yesterday's exercise, we had 109,000, a little over 109,000 voting. So it's still not compared to the numbers that we will see on Monday.
Yes, we expect that the one, because we still have COVID around our neck, we need to be able, regarding COVID-19. Another thing we must also take note as that we need to also make sure that logistics, electoral logistics are available, and that you don't go to the place and then these things are in short supply. They must be ready for people to use and then exercise their franchise legally. Also, I want to make sure that the verification machines and any other appliances that are used to make the process better and let people go through the process smoothly, they are in top shape, so that they will be able to deliver what we expect for them. We also want to encourage the continuous education of the electorate, so that they follow the rules regulating the conduct of voters in elections, and then they know the processes and they are able to abide by these processes very well. And one other thing I want to add is that we want to also encourage people to go there in their numbers and vote. I'm happy that we are getting higher voter turnout. It's a good thing. There are a lot of factors that explain high voter turnout. One is when you have for people in the age bracket of 18 to 35, they are always eager to vote. When you have people who also participate, discuss politics, and they are active participants, there is the tendency for them to support voting. And of course, these things are governed by a lot of ideas. If you have the parties who mobilize support for their adherents to go and vote, it's a way of also encouraging voter turnout. And we believe that all these things, we must bear in mind that we can't do them in isolation. We do them according to the rules that govern the game of elections in this country. It's my hope and prayer that we'll be able to do things and do it well, so that at the end of the day, this election will be peaceful and results will be declared on time, so that whoever wins, we congratulate the person, and who loses, those who lose, they have to accept defeat of the game and abide by the rules that govern the elections.
Yeah, sure. Just before you go, though, so the Electoral Commission puts turnout at 88%, even though before the exercise they were hoping for 100%. So would you say that's a success for them?
Oh, it is a success because once you are getting beyond 60%, you are improving. And I'm saying that there are a lot of factors that go to make these things possible. We as political scientists look at it from 3 theoretical perspectives. We have what we call the mobilization theory, where political parties, media, and actors in the media, in the political landscape, take it upon themselves to mobilize support so that people will go and exercise their franchise. We have also what we call the resource theory, where those who are resourceful in terms of knowledge, in terms of time, and in terms of wealth, they also show more interest in election. And of course, we also talk about the individual benefit theory that goes to shed light on what is at stake and how close the contest is. If you look at this year's election, it's very close, and a lot of things at stake, and then that explain why people want to cast their vote. And of course, we are getting a huge number of young people who are entering into the political landscape to vote for the first time. Research has shown that between ages of 18 and 35 are always excited to go and cast their vote. So I am not surprised that we are getting this number of voter turnout. I know that is not going to be different when we go to the main polls on Monday.
Well, Dr. Asante, thank you so much for your time. Let me wrap up with you, Rodel Say, Afro Project Lead of Cordeo. What's your comments? The expectation of the Electoral Commission was that we'll have 100% voter turnout. It turns out that we got 88%. How would you rate it then? Is this still successful turnout?
Well, I think for the Electoral Commission, the most important thing is that you want to make the opportunity available for every Ghanaian to cast their ballot. And of course, the higher the response rates, the better it is for all of us. But you cannot at any point guarantee a certain percentage because there are various factors that are informing people's participation in an election. So it can be quite dicey, but at the same time, if you look at the category of people who took part in yesterday's exercise, we are looking at security personnel, you are looking at the media and election officials. These, I would say, are not your average. I mean, it's not a representation of the entire voter population. It will give you a good indication in terms of whether people are keen on. I think 88%, what they had is quite good, but it will be difficult for you to expect 100% participation because, like I said, people are looking at various factors in terms of their participation. But if I have to go back to the other issue I was talking about before the line went off, I was looking at the issue of the performance of biometric verification devices. And the point I was trying to make was that if you look at this particular elections, the major reason the Electoral Commission, one of the reasons they had for compiling a new register was the state of their equipment. And so you wanted to check if the new set of devices that we are having for these elections are performing up to expectations. Yesterday, from the report that we had from our observers, generally it was a smooth exercise. Most people were able to go through fingerprint verification. There were a few places where people had to go through a handful of people had to go through facial recognition. So that is a positive thing. If you look at the number of centers that opened yesterday, we had just 275 centers. On election day, we are looking at over 30,000 polling stations. The issue is whether we'll have these devices performing in a similar manner across the country. And I think this is where we should be working. We should be looking at. It would be good if what we saw yesterday is replicated across the over 30,000 polling stations that we are going to vote on election day. If you look at the COVID arrangements too, I think during the biometric verification registration exercise, we noticed that the pilot exercise was beautiful, but when we started the actual registration, the earlier phases, it was a challenge enforcing the COVID protocol. So again, we want to be sure that on the December 7th, what we saw yesterday, we are seeing it across the length and breadth of the country.
Is it disappointing, though, that the Electoral Commission is not considering purchasing some nose masks so they can give to, we're hoping, the few people who probably show up not in mask?
It would have been a good thing if the state was going to make these available. But given that currently the arrangements, they don't have that, I think what we can do is to just educate people, sensitize people for them to come in their mask. And I think the issue that has been raised in the media is whether people who may not be able to afford should just be allowed, should be turned away from the voting centers. It's important that we are looking at this in a fair manner. We are looking at public health. The individual's life matter. You want to vote, but you want to make sure that after the voting, you are alive. And so please, let us all exercise caution. If you cannot even afford a mask and you can get a covering to safely cover your nose and your mouth, just so you can vote safely and also grant others the same, I think that would be a good thing for all of us.
Well, Rhoda, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for your time. And Rhoda is project lead with Cordeo, their perspective on the special voting exercise. Stay with us. You're watching the M Show here on Joy News. Of course, this is your election headquarters. Everything related to the elections, you hear it first here on Joy News. So stay with us. Election headquarters brought to you by, of course, Petrosol and Cowbell Coffee. We've been following the campaigns around the country. So let's hit the road now. Elton Broby is with the presidential candidate of the NPP, who's also the president of the country. Elton joins us, and Elton, is the last day in the Ashanti region. You told us 2 days ago that it was going to be intensive with some 19 stops, I remember. What's happening on the very last day?
So, Mamavi, we are getting ready to hit the road again. Today is the last day. President Akufo-Addo is going to the constituency of the Youth and Sports Minister, Kwame Esiama, and he's expected to inspect an ongoing construction of a sports stadium in that particular constituency. He also go to Imponua Boshem. He will commission a new district hospital for the Ghana Police Service, and then he will drive through Bantama, race course, market, and address traders from his vehicle. From there, we will go to the Swami Magazine, where he's expected to speak to the artisans there, and then finally we'll end it up at the Ashanti Newtown, which is the constituency of the Minister for Education, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, the Menchia South constituency. So this is how it's looking like for this morning. We're all getting ready to go, but it's been 3 days, almost 3 days, of intense campaigning to win the hearts and minds of the Ashanti region. Remember that for the MPP, they are looking at recording at least 85% of the popular votes, and they're also aiming to win all the 47 seats here in the Ashanti region. Indeed, the regional chairman, Bernard Mpibu Esiako, also known as Chairman Wuntumim, has instituted an award scheme for any constituents that will come on top in terms of recording the highest voter turnout and getting over 90% of people to vote. That constituency, according to the regional chairman, will have a special award, and they have for the first, the second, and third. All this falls in line with their overall objective of winning the Ashanti region massively, winning all the 47 seats, and then that will put them in a better position to win the presidency per their own calculation. Because if you look at the vote population of the Ashanti region, we are talking about a little over 3 million. It comes second only to the Greater Accra region, where it has a voter population of 3.4 million. But in terms of the parliamentary seats, the Ashanti region has the highest in the country at 47. In the last election, the MPP managed to record 1.64 million of the popular votes in the Ashanti region, and then the NDC had 503,000, representing 22%. The MPP had 75.9%. They want to move from 75% to 85% in the upcoming election. That presents them a huge challenge, one that they are confident that they will be able to turn it in their favor with the institution of some award scheme for constituency that will work hard to get it done. Yesterday, for example, President Akufo-Addo took his campaign tour to cocoa farmers here in the Ashanti region, where he launched the cocoa farmers pension scheme, and they are looking at giving farmers a befitting retirement when they are done with their farming activities. This is a collaboration between the Ghana Cocoa Board and the National Pension Regulatory Authority. They are targeting 1.5 million cocoa farmers, And the farmers, according to their plan, will contribute, and then Cocoa Board will supplement it. So at the end of their farming activity, they will have some money waiting for them to enjoy their retirement. From where he also commissioned the 16th factory operation being operationalized under the One District, One Factory initiative. That brings to a number 16 so far commissioned in the Ashanti region. According to President Akufo-Addo, they have so far commissioned 79 of such factories across the country. 107 are in various stages of completion, and they are hoping that they will be able to create jobs in the rural communities. They will be able to improve on export and also deal with import substitution. That's the overall objective of the One District, One Factory initiative, and government is on course to do it. But instructive to note is when the president visited the Mansour Kwanta, Mansour Adubia, and Mansour Siena constituencies, also in the Ashanti region. These are mining areas. So remember the government position on illegal mining, also known as Galamsey, and the backlash that they have received, especially from the NDC presidential candidate John Mahama, who is on record to have said that if he wins power, he will return all seized concessions to the small-scale miners and also their excavators. President Akufo-Addo told a cheering crowd that his position on the ban on illegal mining is unchanged and that nothing is going to change his mind. He is of the view that the country cannot mine and in the process of mining destroy the environment, and that the community mining concept is the way to go. As a matter of fact, before heading to the Mansour Kwanta constituency, he said that he was under the impression that the people were displeased with his style of administration regarding the issue of illegal mining, and for that reason they were not going to welcome him. But he said that he was surprised at the turnout that greeted him, that accorded him, the reception that he was looking for during the campaign stops in these areas. And this will inspire him to ensure that there is safe mining, there is proper managed mining activity in the country, and that his position remains unchanged. Mahavi.
Elton, giving us a wrap of what the president has been up to. Is the last day in the Ashanti region. Elton from Kumasi, thank you very much. Elton Bobe is with the presidential candidate of the new Patriotic Party, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Let's jump on now and talk to Maxwell Agbagba. Maxwell Agbagba has been following the campaign of the presidential candidate of the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, John Dramani Mahama. And Maxwell, you're back from the Savannah region. You're in Accra today. And when I say you're in Accra, the candidates of the NDC is in Accra. Give us an appreciation of what he's been up to the last 24 hours.
Well, he wrapped up with his campaign in the Savannah region. He went to the Salaga North, Salaga South constituencies and some other constituencies as well to campaign. He ended the campaign there in the Savannah region. Yesterday, not really much happened with regards to campaigning. What we do know is that the campaign resumes today, and we'll be heading to the Eastern region in some hours. But in the Savannah region, he focused on some key areas. Savannah region, Northern region, Northeast region, and the Upper East region. There were some key things that he focused on. So occasionally you hear him criticizing the NPP administration, but he never forgets to mention those things which are listed in the NDC's manifesto to the people. Key amongst them is security and safety. He has been telling the people that he observed driving through communities in the northern part of the country. He realized that there was some kind of unspoken curfew. He says that people were not willing to move after 10 o'clock p.m. And that is true, because we also observed that driving through the streets, on the streets of, in some of the communities, you would go about 30 minutes, you would not see any vehicle on the stretch. And that, we were told, was because of the increase in armed robberies, in highway robberies in that part, of the country. And John Mahama is attributing that to what he calls low morale, with the security agencies. He says that there seems to be some kind of empowerment for vigilante groups. He says resources, much needed resources that need to be given to security agencies for them to properly execute their mandates and do their work. They are denied of it, and those resources are rather given to vigilante groups. So he's been promising the people and some of the areas that we visited that if the NDC is elected, they will make sure that they boost the morale of security agencies and also make sure that they provide them with the needed logistics, to be able to fight crime. Another campaign issue that he's been reiterating has to do with the National Apprenticeship Program. He says that a lot of women and girls have been moving from northern Ghana to southern Ghana to come and do what we all know as a career business. He says if the NDC is elected into government, they will make sure they implement the National Apprenticeship Program. He believes that it would equip the women and girls with the needed skills and also help them to get something to do. So he says that if that is properly done, they will not really want to move to Accra in search of greener pastures. So that's one thing he's also been talking about. And then he's also been talking about the NDC's free primary health care program. He says that if the NDC is elected and they come into government, they will make sure they implement that. And what that will mean is that you only have to access medical care with your Ghana card. So if you're not feeling well, you go to the hospital, the status of a district hospital or below. You can get free medical care with your Ghana card, and he says that is part of a wider reform to make medical care more accessible and easily accessible to the people. He has also been reiterating promise on the free senior high school program. He says, contrary to the information out there that the NDC will abolish the free senior high school program if elected. The NDC would rather improve it, and he says that they would make sure they complete the 200 community-based senior high schools, so that within 1 year the double tax system, will be completely eliminated. He calls it red, yellow, green traffic lights. And usually when he says it, you get people, applauding him. He has also been talking about the Eastern Corridor routes. He says that those roads have to be completed because Northern Ghana plays an important commercial role, in the development of Ghana, and he sees no reason why the Eastern Corridor roads, have not been completed. He says if a future NDC government will make sure that they complete it.
Okay.
When we went to the Daboya community, he's been telling the residents there that a future NDC government would also make amendments to the National Pensions Act. He says that they'll make it possible for people to be able to, withdraw or get some kind of stipend. So in case you lose your job.
Okay. All right, Maxwell, I guess we get the picture now. And Maxwell will be following the campaign as it hits the eastern region, the campaign of the presidential candidate of the NDC. There will be more updates in the course of our programming. But right now, it's Benjamin Akakpo from the stands.
Welcome to Wednesday, day number 2 in this beautiful month. It's 5 days to election 2020. Now, this morning, we're hitting the streets to find out what exactly people think about yesterday's special voting, as well as the topical matters in the newspapers today. Let's quickly grab some of those on the streets right here in the Kwame Nkrumah Circle interchange area. Let's start with my brother here. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name?
Bright.
All right. So, Bright, what do you think about yesterday's special voting, event?
Oh, for me, it was okay. The only problem that I had was 2 people taking pictures of their vote and, broadcasting it and sending it to social media and all those stuff. I was a bit disappointed because I thought those people have in-depth knowledge about voting and they are supposed to go and watch people when it comes to voting. But if they do this, it's a bit something else. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
So for you, your disappointment was the fact that these are officials of state, apart from the media people, the security services, the Electoral Commission itself, and you're disappointed that people like that are showing these signs?
Exactly. In fact, it was unfortunate. If not for that thing, like yesterday's voting was, for me, okay. But the only thing was, what happened yesterday, the 2 incidents.
Now, there were also other incidents of names appearing twice, some names not appearing, and all of that. How confident are you on the back of what you saw yesterday ahead of December 7th?
That's what the problem is. I don't know when we're going to overcome these challenges. It's been there since, I think, 20 years ago, and for now, I feel maybe we should go ahead. These are small challenges that we should be able to overcome for now. I'm just hoping that Monday's one will not be like yesterday's one, and the EC also take, charge and see if they will be able to correct all these mistakes, so that at least next week's one will be better and problem-free election that we are all hoping for.
Okay, I have a final question for you, but before that, are you voting come December 7th?
Definitely, I have to express my voting. That's where I also get a chance to also go and choose the person that I feel is fit for the presidency job. You understand? So I'll definitely vote.
Good. Now that you've confirmed that, there's a story in one of the papers out there. We were chatting about it, that free SHS should be enough for people to say, because of that, they're going to vote for this administration. What is your thinking on that matter?
For me, education is one of the key, or is the best thing in Ghana here that we are all hoping for, that everybody will be educated. You understand? So if somebody is offering free SHS, for me, it's a step in a right direction. You understand?
Is it enough to convince you to vote just because of that?
Not me. I don't want to say me. But if people will vote based on free SHS, for me, it's okay, because not all people will get a chance to be able to pay their children's school fees and all those stuff. So if somebody is coming to offer them free education, for me, it might, or somebody can consider that one to be a better policy for somebody to vote based on that. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Thank you so much for engaging us this morning. We've hit the streets of Accra from the horse's own mouth. Let's check out some more people. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Jeffrey Ofori is here with us, and he also has some thoughts to share about yesterday's special voting exercise. Jeffrey, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What are your thoughts? What are your impressions of what happened yesterday in the course of the special voting?
I would say this isn't the first time such an incident is happening. So we can look at precedent and choose the most appropriate option to use. I would have loved to have given my own thought on that, but I think since Ghana is a good nation and we are sovereign like we claim, we can check precedents and use the most appropriate option in order to suffice whatever happened yesterday.
Right. Now, there are two quick things, we discussed right before you're coming live on air. One has to do with corruption. The other one has to do with free SHS. As an ordinary citizen, when you think corruption today, do you think we are making any progress? What are your thoughts on that?
This will be like a $1 million question you're asking me. Corruption, on the other hand, let's say if I take Africa as a whole, it's been a big canker that has been chewing through the sinews of the tissues of Africa. If I limit it to Ghana, for the meantime, I would say we've been progressive, but there is still room for improvement. We shouldn't limit ourselves to where we've got into. There is more room for improvement, so we should not limit ourselves like I just said.
Right, so more room for improvement. Finally, on free SHS, the Member of Parliament for Efutu constituency, Honorable Afenyo Markin, says that alone, free SHS alone, should convince Ghanaians to vote for the MPP. Your thoughts?
I would say if we limit ourselves to just free SHS, we'll be shooting ourselves in the foot. We should look beyond one particular, we should look beyond the most predominant campaign that each party is campaigning for. The free SHS is more of a campaign slogan. And moreover, in as much as in terms of when we watch our surroundings, it's existing. We shouldn't just limit ourselves to it. We should look beyond it. For every individual, based on our party alignment, we could vote based on that. But I would say that we shouldn't just limit ourselves to it. Every individual has the reason why they vote. But if you, as a citizen, would choose to vote based on free SHS, that is your own individual assertion. But we should look beyond it and also look beyond the normal campaigns everybody is making and just look for the visions of each political party as well.
Jeffrey, are you voting on December 7th?
definitely I'll vote. I wouldn't be there for somebody to vote in order to choose a party for me. Then I'll be just there saying, oh, this particular party is not ruling well. I'll use my time to choose whoever I want. So vote.
Now, finally, you're going to vote. What are you going to, I mean, Free SHS came and you're saying that we should look beyond Free SHS. What are some of the things that as a Ghanaian citizen you are going to consider in casting your ballot?
First, I just look at benefit of a particular party's campaign to my family, to me as an individual, and to the community in which I belong to. When I look at these three things and they are in synchronym, then I'll choose a particular political party to vote for.
Have you decided yet which party you're voting for?
I have, and definitely I'll make a choice on 7th December.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, for interacting with us this morning.
I like Jeffrey's enthusiasm right there, and I like it when we take the microphones to the people. From the stands with Benjamin Akakwo, we've got Kadi with show business news, but that's only after this.